Hello and welcome to another week of reading, writing, and math with Mrs. Wartenberg. In this video, we're going to take a look at what we did in writing and reading this week. And I tried to be a little more creative. I know that it's hard sitting in front of a screen all day long. And so this week we tried some new slides for writing and reading, and some of it was a success, some of it not, but that's the beautiful thing about being a teacher, about being a student, is all of us, we're always learning. We're growing, we're trying new things. And just because even me as your teacher, I tried something and it didn't work, that doesn't mean I give up and I talk that I'm such a bad teacher. I reflect and I go, okay, what went well, what didn't, and how can I learn from this? So never forget that you're not alone when you make mistakes. Your teachers make mistakes. Your parents make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. That's wonderful news to be a human being, is to be messy and to make mistakes and to learn and grow and become a better person. So with that in mind, I'm going to share my screen and show you guys a little snapshot of this week. This week, we did our next 5 letters of the alphabet. We did the letter R. When you write your capital R, you start at the top of the line, you come straight down. You make it like the capital letter P with the belly on the right, and the leg kicks out. And remember, the important thing is that right here in the middle is where your leg that kicks out needs to come from. A lot of first graders accidentally forget and they leave a space, and then it doesn't look like an R anymore. So make sure your belly and your leg connect right in the middle. Your lowercase r, what I have to say about this is you start at the dotted line, you go down to the bottom. You come up and you give it a curve. Be careful, first graders. I have seen so many kiddos get so excited with the letter R that they go too far down and it turns your lowercase r into a lowercase n. R's, N's, and H's, those are hard letters to distinguish for first graders when you're writing your lowercase letters. Remember, the lowercase r just has a teeny tiny paw. He just peeks over the top. He doesn't go all the way down. Some R words that we came up with this week were rainbow, rust, rabbit, road, round, rose, red, roll, rice, random, rip, ruler, and rooster. Part of our writing target right here over on the right side, I can write using capital and lowercase letters. That is part of a first grade standard you need to work on throughout the year. And that is why we have been focusing on a couple of letters a day to make sure you are masters at writing your letters. After the letter R, we did the letter S. A capital and a lowercase s are exactly the same, except a capital S is twice as big. So it's like you draw the letter C floating in the air and you come on down giving an upside down C. It's the same with the lowercase s, you just make a small miniature version. And the S words we came up with this week are snake, sentence, snail, super, star, some, soda, slime, salad, sour, sea, salt, soap, and snore. Great S letters. We also worked on the letter T. T is one of my very favorite letters to write. I think it's because my brother's name starts with a T, and every time I write a T, I think of him. With a capital T, you want to give it a nice long line all the way from the top to the bottom, and his top hat is on the top. Whereas when you make your lowercase t from the top to the bottom, his top hat goes around his middle like he's got a hula hoop on. The T words we came up with this week were turtle, toothbrush, tape measure, teacup, toes, taffy, tomato, tablet, teddy bear, tape, tulip, toast, and tail. Now, this by no means is all of the words that we came up with in class, but these are just an idea of what some of your classmates were able to show or share with us this week. We also covered the letter U. The letter U is important that you pay attention when you make the letter U. It has a nice round bottom. I see first graders make this mistake all the time where they get pointy with their letter U and it turns the letter U into way up here, the letter V. So the letter U just comes down from the top to the bottom, gets a curve, and comes straight back up to the top. Your lowercase u is a miniature version, but give him a tail, just like your lowercase a. He gets that little tail right there. That is super helpful because when you are writing, if you write a lowercase v, again, it's one of those things that sometimes if you get too hasty and you go too quickly, your U can turn into a V. So if you remember to give it a tail, your teacher, your parent, any adult trying to read your letters will be able to know you meant a U because you gave it a tail. Some of the U words we came up with this week were ukulele, USB, unicorn, the word surprise. Now, yes, I know it does not start with a U, but there is a U on the inside. It's important when we are working with our target of I can write using capital and lowercase letters that we remember there are letters not just at the beginning of the word, but inside the word. And when we're writing words, we only get capitals at the beginnings of words. Typically, words do not have random capitals in the middle. So it was a good surprise for us to practice writing a U in the middle of a word. We also saw lots and lots of umbrellas, a guitar, uniform, USA, united, untie, uncle, up, understand, and undo. These were some really great words that had great conversation this week. We talked about our aunts and our uncles. We talked about untying our shoelaces. And when you make a problem, you can undo your mistakes. Great U words. Our last letter we looked at this week was the letter V. Now, as I said with the letter U, V is pointy. So when you come down at a slant from the top to the bottom and you go straight back up, you want to make sure it's nice and pointy like an ice cream cone. And the lowercase v is a miniature version. So it starts at the dotted line in the middle, goes down to the bottom, and goes back to the middle. It's a small version. So words that we came up with this week were visit, Evan, very, vacation, vaccine, vacuum, viper, vinegar, vampire, vegetable, vitamins, vote, and voice. Again, this was a great word for us in class. We had a great conversation around the fact that there's a presidential election coming up in a few weeks. And it's very important for your parents and anyone you know who's over 18 to vote. They need to make sure their voice is heard and they vote. Vote for who you think is absolutely the best for you, for our country. Remember to vote. So that is what we did in writing. I would love for you to practice writing your capital and lowercase R, S, T, U, and V letters this week. Again, that is R, S, T, U, and V. Moving out of writing and practicing our letters, we moved into reading. We had 2 reading targets this week, and those reading targets were I can read high frequency words and I can read words with the sound. we really looked at this idea of words with the eh sound because as first graders, there are something called long vowels and something called short vowels. When a vowel says its sound, that is called a short vowel. When a letter says its name, that is a long vowel sound. And in the fall, we are going to be practicing exclusively short sound vowels, where they're going to say their sound. In the spring, we'll move on and we will learn how to distinguish and tell if it's a long or a short vowel. But for right now, we're focusing in, we are targeting those short vowel sounds. So I'm going to actually stop sharing the screen. That's our classroom. That's what our classroom looks like when we are in person, which I really miss being in person with you guys. But Zoom is pretty good too. So this is just a look at kind of our reading for the week. So we're going to start with our high frequency words. We had so much fun with our high frequency words this week because we had some mystery words. They were hiding inside of the other words. So our first word is the word for. For is spelled F-O-R. This is not the number 4. When you're talking about the number 4, it has 4 letters. It is spelled F-O-U-R. This is talking about something that is for something else. I have a letter for you, kind of a thing. Now, if you magic erase the front sound in for, it turns into this word. This is the word or. Or is spelled O-R. Or. You can have pizza or chicken for dinner. Our next word is the word that. That is pretty fun because there's several words hiding inside of it. But this is that. That is spelled T-H-A-T. And that talks about this or that. Oh, look at that. Mrs. Wartenberg used or and that in a sentence. That's why we call it high frequency words. These are words you hear all the time. They are in high demand. What word we focused on this week that's hiding inside of that is this word at. A-T. I like to look at your faces on Zoom. Our next word is with. W-I-T-H. I go with my husband to the grocery store. I go with my mom to get our nails painted. Actually, it's been a long time ago. We won't talk about Mrs. Wartenberg's nails. I'm a nail biter. You should not bite your nails, but I do. That's something I'm working on. I'm not perfect. And our last word is have. H-A-V-E, have. The word have is a possessive word. It means that something belongs to you. I have a Perrier water bottle. I have one baby. So those are our high frequency words. Anytime, I want you to be looking around when you're reading anything at home, any books, anything on the screen, look for those words and see if you can start to notice and keep track of how many times you see those words. Then in our reading this week, our other reading target was working with words with the eh sound. So we targeted 6 letters this week to practice the phonics sounds. And there are 2 of my very favorite letters in here. So we're going to start first with the letter D. When I say card, you say duck. Card, duck. Card, duck. When I say sound, you say duh. Sound, duh. Sound, duh. When I say spelling, you say D. Spelling, D. Spelling, D. All together, ready, go. Duck, duck, d, d, d. Very good. Our next letter, this was a letter that some of you had a hard time with this week because I think it may have been because we had two bird cards this week and both birds have white bellies and they have beaks. But we already did our D card. He has a nice, beautiful green head. This bird is called a goose. When I say card, you say goose. Card, goose. Card, goose. When I say sound, you say g. Sound, g. Sound, g. When I say spelling, you say G. Spelling, G. Spelling, G. All together, ready, go. Goose, goose, g, g, g. Very nice job. Our next card is a lion. When I say card, you say lion. Card, lion. Card, lion. When I say sound, you say O. Sound, O. Sound, O. When I say spelling, you say L. Spelling, L. Spelling, L. All together, ready, go. Lion, lion, O, O, O. Good job. Our next one is, there it is. Here's our learning target. When I say card, you say elephant. Card, elephant. Card, elephant. When I say sound, you say eh. Sound, eh. Sound, eh. When I say spelling, you say E. Spelling, E. Spelling, E. All together, ready, go. Elephant, elephant, eh, eh, eh. Very good job. I had a few friends this week who kind of got confused and they maybe tried the ice cream sound. Elephant has an eh sound. Our next letter is pig. It's the letter P. Now, our next two letters, these are a little difficult. You may have been taught to say the P as a P sound. I was taught that way too. And a couple of years ago, I had a master teacher stop me and say, Mrs. Wartenberg, did you know there is no P in the alphabet? I went, oh my goodness, you're right. And so when you say this sound, instead of saying P, think of it like the word popcorn. You are going to just blow out a candle and go p, 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 p. It comes from your lips smacking apart to make the p sound. It's a soft sound. When I say card, you say pig. Card, pig. Card, pig. When I say sound, you say p. Sound, p. Sound, p. When I say spelling, you say P. Spelling, P. Spelling, P. All together, ready, go. Pig, pig, p, p, p. It's important to remember that this is a soft sound because a word like power, if you say hour, per hour, that's not how you say power. Or if you say pretty, it's not pretty, it's pretty. That's why it's important. It's a soft sound through your lips. And our last letter that we worked on this week is W, just like Wartenberg. I know I've got a crazy last name and it's got a crazy sound. Again, this is one of those just like pig. A lot of people say wah, wah. There is no wah in the alphabet. That master teacher, she was a smart teacher and she just reminded me, you don't say wah in for win, it's win. And so the sound for W is like you're at a baseball game and you're cheering your team on and you go, woo-hoo. It's a woo sound. It's kind of like a boo sound. When I say card, you say worm. Card, worm, card, worm. When I say sound, you say woo. Sound, woo. Sound, woo. When I say spelling, you say W. Spelling, W. Spelling, W. All together, ready, go. Worm, worm, woo, woo, woo. And just like the word worm here, it's not worm, it's worm. 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 So those are our phonics sounds. We also this week played with a little bit of segmenting, which is just a fancy way of saying breaking down the sounds in a word. And so with that, we took our letters and we moved them around so we could break down a word like the word leg. O-E-G. Leg. And we just got to play with these letters and try out different words. I encourage you to do the same thing. Try saying words and thinking about the sounds that are stuffed inside of those words. When you start to think about, oh, if I say, do, ooh, do, oh, there's letters in there. Oh, those letter sounds that we learned in our phonics lessons, they spell words. It helps us start to learn how to put words together. So when you're reading a story and you come to a word you don't know, you go, oh, wait, I can sound out the word. There are individual sounds in these words. That's what I still do as an adult. I love reading. I have read hundreds of books and I still all the time come across words that I don't know. And I know my letter sounds. So even if it's a word I've never seen before, I can sound out the word and figure out what it is saying. It's really cool. I love phonics. The last thing that we did was comprehension. And this week we worked on some retells and on some vocabulary. So I have a story, it's very short, that I can read to you guys right now. And I will kind of explain how we did a retell and our vocabulary words. So this word is about a boy named Pat. My little brother Pat loves his teddy bear. He drags it around with him everywhere. One day, Pat dropped his teddy bear in the store and lost it. He was so upset and would not stop crying. Our mom looked all over for the bear and finally found it on a shelf. Pat was so happy to have his bear back. So this week, when we worked with a retell, I asked my friends in class, who is the main character? I asked them, what is the problem in the story? And they were able to tell me the main character is Pat. The problem in this story is Pat loses his bear. I also, for the retell, I asked what happened first, next, and last in our story. First, Pat loses his bear. Next, he cries and Mom looks for the bear. Last, Mom finds the bear. So that is how you can retell a story, not giving away all of the details, but in a quick, succinct way. Succinct is a fancy word meaning quick, but you can always give more details. Sometimes though, you got to go quick through a story so you can pick out the main points. And that's what as we're doing as first graders. We're learning to kind of sift through and dig around in a story to find out what's this story all about. And that's why we're going to really focus in on these retells because there's lots of details, but sometimes I just want to know what's the bottom line? What's the point? If you ever hang out with me in person, I am terrible at storytelling. My husband tells me all the time that I am just awful. I get bogged down in telling all the extra details, and I just want him to feel like he's there in my story to a detriment where he forgets what the story is all about. And so Mrs. Wartenberg is also practicing how to retell stories just in her own life. It helps us get to the point. And we also talked about some vocabulary this week. In our story, we heard the word drag, D-R-A-G, drag. Drag is a fancy word meaning pull. If something is heavy, if it's something you don't really want to carry, if it's an awkward shape, when you drag it, you can't quite pick it up in your arms. It kind of trails behind you and you pull it. Another word we talked about is upset. Upset just means sad. But I had a great point from one of our students. So this is what I'm working with. I'm working on our words here. And when we talked about upset, I have the word sad. So we talked about sad. But I had a student raise his hand and say, Mrs. Wurtenberg, what about angry? My dad has used the word upset when he's angry. I said, absolutely. If you lose something you love and you're upset about it, you could be sad, but you might be angry too. That's an absolutely valid way to describe the vocabulary word of upset. Our last word was crying. Now, most of you absolutely know the word crying. It means sobbing. It means you have tears coming down your face. It's a very sad emotion, but it also can be a happy emotion. I sometimes cry when I look at my baby because I love him so much, and I cry happy tears. So crying isn't always sad, it sometimes is happy. You never know. And that wraps up reading and writing for us this week. Think through retelling a story about your life. Maybe retell going to a pumpkin patch. What did you do first, next, and last while you were at the pumpkin patch? Maybe retell me how you had breakfast this morning. What did you do first, next, and last? Tell me how you get ready for bed. What do you do first, next, and last? A great way to just get to the point but to share something that you would really like to. I will see you guys next week.